it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right. Welcome back. It's hour 2, Toker Talk Radio. It's Friday. It's raining, and I got a joint lit. I'm taking it easy. Woo! Glad we made it to the weekend. Thanks for being here. I was on the conference call earlier today with the folks at Cannabis Radio. We are putting together an amazing night for Marijuana Election Night 2016, I'm telling you. The plan right now is to have me in California at the Prop 64 election headquarters and to have an engineering team with me, right? Like to have people running the computers and the mics and all that stuff, and all I got to do is just do the show. Amazing. Actually have an intern that will be running the Skype connection because we'll have connections, probably I guess it's going to have to be 8, 9, 10 connections that we're going to have because we're going to have a reporter at the headquarters, at the election headquarters, the campaign headquarters. We're going to have a reporter at every one of them in each of the states, crossing my fingers because I don't know how I'm going to find North Dakota, but we are going to have someone, that's my goal, is to have someone in all of the campaign headquarters for the marijuana votes to give us the live election results as they come down. So it's going to be an exciting night. And if the history is any guide, when I did this in 2012, the last big election night that I did in 2012, we had like 5,000 peak live listeners. We had 50,000 listeners over the entire broadcast. And those numbers are mighty small compared to what I think we're going to get out of this 2016 because, me, I've always been a one-man band. I've been always doing this by myself, not much promotion, not much advertising. Now we got the Cannabis Radio people who are pushing this not just to the marijuana outlets, to have these marijuana outlets relying on us and reporting on us, but to mainstream news outlets and actually allowing them to tap into our feed for updates. So I may be giving live updates to some mainstream news outlets as well. We shall see. We've got all those state votes to cover, the 4 states voting on medical, the 5 states voting on legal, but also lots of local votes. In Denver, they're going to have that initiative for pot lounges that we're going to have to report on. I'm sure that in various Colorado cities, there's going to be tax measures or bans. Same thing in Oregon. We got a lot of these bans that came up that are up for a vote. We're going to report on those. I'm going to be searching around to see if there's local things to cover in California, in Washington State, wherever there might be a marijuana vote. And if you know of one, like if it's who knows, there might be a decrim vote in Ohio somewhere. I don't know. If you know of a local vote that's happening, just send it to me, radicalruss@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to be the correspondent, that would even be better. That's part of what we do here is and being a correspondent wouldn't be any big deal. It'd just be you and your cell phone. Preferably if your cell phone can do Skype on a Wi-Fi, but regular old cell phone will do too. And you'll be our live correspondent from these campaign headquarters. We'll get you a pass, get you in. They're usually pretty swanky affairs. You can get some hors d'oeuvres and a drink or two. So that's our marijuana election night coverage coming up on Tuesday, November 8th. We're getting it all mapped out for you, and we'll keep giving you updates as we find out more. Coming up after the break here, we're going to continue with part 3 of the mega rant of Stoners Against Legalization 2016. We're going to take a look at the other 4 states, Arizona, Nevada, Massachusetts, and Maine, that are all states with some sort of MPP-backed initiative. So we'll take a look at MPP and a look at the Stoners Against Legalization in those states when we return. I'm Radical Russ, live from beautiful legal Potland, Oregon, on CannabisRadio.com. We'll be right back after we pay a few of the bills.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Legal to listen to all over the world. We're just not sure about France. CannabisRadio.com. Cash?
Sorry.
I don't carry around cash, and I don't want to use the ATM and pay surcharges.
You don't need to carry cash. Haven't you heard about PayQuick?
Okay, tell me about PayQuick.
It's the safe and easy way to pay. It works just like your debit card to securely pay for your purchase, and it gives you rewards points every time you use it.
Nice.
PayQuick, the safe and easy way to pay. PayQuick.com.
Educator, author, and advocate Dr. Mitch Earlywine is here to tackle the burning issues.
Author Catherine Hiller and her great new book, Just Say Yes, Marijuana Memoir. So I love the way you use time in the memoir.
I started at the present time, and I described a visit to my dealer, and then I would go backward in time so that every chapter starts a little bit earlier. I do not feel that marijuana has in any way harmed my life. It certainly hasn't led me to the streets. It's led me to a more joyful life experience.
Burning issues, only on CannabisRadio.com.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Adrian, I finished it. Adrian.
Okay, maybe you're high, too.
Are you playing an acoustic guitar but want to be louder without an amp? Try a resonator guitar. The fingerboard extension has National Resophonic and other resonators, square necks and round necks. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension downtown Corvallis at 120 Northwest 2nd Street today, or check out its inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com. Go wild hog in the woods.
Here. Arr, 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 arr. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
We must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
That marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug.
Some think there won't be room for them in jail. We'll make room.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it and didn't inhale.
And one major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Radical Rant.
This November, 4 out of the 5 initiatives on the ballot to legalize marijuana are sponsored by the Marijuana Policy Project, or MPP. In those states, too, there has been a significant base of opposition to the measures from different groups of stoners against legalization. Sometimes that opposition forms out of the groups that attempted to put their version of legalization on the ballot, but failed. It's a corollary of the "it's not true legalization" phenomenon that sports fans know well as "wait till next year." These well-meaning supporters often have decent legalization language to offer, but no political capital or fundraising ability to do anything about it. Somehow these true legalizers will tell you that the passage of the initiative on the ballot now is going to lock in those stifling regulations for eternity. And then, without flinching, they will tell you that you need to vote against that initiative because in 2 years, their superior true legalization will make the ballot and pass. That's right. If legalization passes, those activists are too politically impotent to help shape regulations and expand legalization in the future. But if legalization fails, these activists will be more politically powerful than they were this time around in a presidential election with the best turnout for legalization. And they'll easily get their legalization on the ballot and pass it in an off-year midterm election with lower turnout after a more conservative legalization had just been defeated at the polls 2 years prior. The most extreme stoners against legalization tale this election season comes from Arizona. It has been a nasty battle to get legalization on the ballot in the state where Sheriff Joe Arpaio is still somewhat popular, and the Maricopa County Attorney Bill Montgomery is publicly calling a veteran medical marijuana patient an enemy. MPP began its push for legalization in 2015, facing off not against stoners against legalization, but against the existing medical marijuana dispensaries and their I got's mine attitude. Initially, MPP was proposing a legalization measure that set up a recreational system separate from the medical marijuana system. But the dispensary owners didn't like the idea of being stuck with just 10% of the marijuana market, so they pushed back against MPP's measure by presenting a measure of their own. The dispensary owners complained that MPP's measure was never going to pass in conservative Arizona because it allowed for too many pot shops and for personal home growing. Arizona dispensaries have had a nice corner on the marijuana market since the 2010 medical marijuana measure passed in Arizona by MPP established what's called a 25-mile halo around medical marijuana dispensaries. If you live within 25 miles of one, you cannot home grow cannabis. MPP's executive director, Rob Campia, and leader of the dispensary owners, Dr. Gina Berman, fought over their competing initiatives, culminating in an email from Campia to Berman that threatened MPP's spending of $10,000 to, quote, pay people for 1,000 hours of time to distribute literature outside of your front door, and the literature will not portray you in a kind way, end quote. Eventually, the two sides worked out their differences when MPP refiled its language to benefit the medical marijuana dispensaries. The home grow provisions would remain, eliminating the 25-mile halo, but the existing medical marijuana dispensaries would have the first shot at the retail adult marijuana licenses. In the meantime, another group had formed called Arizonans for Mindful Regulation. They represented the hopeful entrepreneurs who felt written out by the compromise between MPP and medical marijuana operators, as well as those who felt MPP's language was too restrictive. Led by Jason Medar, this group campaigned for its marijuana initiative, but lacked the signatures and funding to make it to the ballot. So Medar's group has now transformed into the redundantly named Marijuana Consumers Against Fake Marijuana Legalization. They claim that passing what is now Prop 205 in Arizona will, quote, do more harm than good, end quote, because it doesn't protect marijuana consumers. Medar's group does admit that Prop 205 makes it, quote, legal for adults to grow 6 cannabis plants, end quote. But if someone was caught growing 7 plants, they would receive a felony charge. They'll admit that Prop 205, quote, allows adults to legally possess 5 grams of marijuana concentrates, end quote. But if someone was caught with 6 grams of concentrates, they would receive a felony charge. Unlike today in Arizona, where if you're caught growing 1 cannabis plant or in possession of any concentrates, it's a felony. I know, you're shaking your head. Somehow, these people think it is worse for cannabis consumers to have some legal amount of cannabis because then they'd be busted if they had over that amount. In a similar bout of illogic, Medar's group complains that the MPP legalization initiative, quote, fails to adequately address firearms protections, DUI protections, parental protections, raid and search protections, loss of rights protections, post-conviction relief, end quote, and still allows your employer to discriminate against your marijuana use. Just like now, except you'll still be able to legally possess marijuana and buy it from pot shops. Another concern they have is that cities and counties would be able to ban nuisance marijuana grows. But this is a place where the medical marijuana 25-mile halo already prevents medical home grows in over 97% of the state, and prohibition prevents recreational grows in 100% of the state. Even in MEDAR's worst-case scenario of virtually every city and county in Arizona will ban home grows, how does that make the situation worse than it is right now? The remainder of MEDAR's group's concerns deal with the dreaded oligopolies. Medical marijuana dispensaries would get the recreational licenses, so hopeful pot shop owners are cut out. Arizona will form a new marijuana licensing commission that may regulate paraphernalia at smoke shops. But how are those problems for the marijuana consumer? In neighboring Nevada, there is a lack of an organized Stoners Against Legalization group, but that doesn't mean that legalization there has a smooth path to the ballot. Medical marijuana had been around in Nevada since 2000, but it has only got around to forming a dispensary system in 2013 and just made its first marijuana sale in 2015. Nevada only has a few thousand medical marijuana patients, but their law now includes a reciprocity provision for out-of-state medical marijuana patients. This has resulted in a flood of cardholders from neighboring California and other states who can now go to Las Vegas, Reno, and Lake Tahoe for their vacations and be able to access medical cannabis. In essence, Nevada for the past year has already undergone a dry run for marijuana legalization, thanks to the ease with which Californians can get a medical marijuana recommendation. Thus, with an established industry to worry about, MPP once again set limits on recreational licenses and allowed only the current medical marijuana operators to apply for them in the first 18 months. MPP also created a home grow right, but then established another 25-mile halo, this time around any recreational pot shop where home growing is banned. However, Nevada also provided MPP with another entrenched group to buy off to avoid funded opposition, the liquor industry. Liquor has a lot of power in a state full of casinos and laws that allow open containers on the streets. So in Nevada's initiative, unlike any other state legalization, the existing liquor distributors will get first crack at the distribution licenses for cannabis. And in a nod to the tourism officials who don't want streets full of drunk gamblers sullied by the presence of marijuana smokers, Nevada will have the greatest public toking penalty, a misdemeanor with a fine of $600. Now, stay tuned and we'll come back after the break and round this out, finish up with some look at Massachusetts and Maine. You can also find the text of these Stoners Against Legalization rants with all the hyperlinks to all the relevant references available on weednews.co. And I encourage you, if you haven't already, to check out weednews.co. It's where most of my writing is going to appear henceforth. And I'm a part owner in the company, so I'd appreciate that as well from a financial point of view. Weednews.co is available on Twitter at WeedNewsCo, on Facebook at WeedNewsCo. Check out our Facebook page because we're releasing all sorts of great memes and fun pictures and stuff through that medium. We had one that just recently went viral, a picture of two of those little hand scales, little hand dangle scales. It says, if you have weighed cannabis with these, you've been smoking cannabis for a long time. Which is absolutely true. You'll remember using the nickel. You put the nickel on the scale because a nickel weighs just about a perfect gram there. I'm going to balance out your scale, make sure that it's working okay. These old school tips and tricks that those of us baby boomer and older tokers probably taken to the grave with us. These things that these kids won't have to do when they're older. They just go to the pot shop and it's already pre-weighed for them.
can't do reefer comedy. I'm drunk. Two different animals.
Something sticking in the whistle there. I don't know what's going on there. But it's 4:20 time for us to take our safety meeting and try and figure out what's going on with the hard drive here. Don't like all that stuttering. And when we come back, we'll wrap up the Stoners Against Legalization and talk about the rest of the news right here on the Russ Belville Show.
Being green is good. Growing green is good. Making green is great. CannabisRadio.com.
The next generation of vaporizers has arrived. Vuber vaporizers are blazing the way with unparalleled technology for oil, concentrate, or dry flower pens. Providing unsurpassed customer service and expert craftsmanship, Vuber vaporizers use cutting-edge technology, providing a power-packed, smoother vapor with a lifetime guarantee. Experience vaporizing the way it was meant to be. The Vuber way.
Hey, this is Willie Nelson for Normal. And I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer than alcohol. There's nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting those who smoke marijuana responsibly. To learn what you can do to help, contact Normal at NORML.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORMAL.
You can find Radical Russ online everywhere. Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, SoundCloud, Snapchat, LinkedIn, and Boise State University's 2400 baud modem bulletin board system from 1985.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
We must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
That marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug.
Some think there won't be room for them in jail. We'll make room.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it and didn't inhale.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Radical Rant.
Continuing our look at the 4 states where MPP is involved with marijuana legalization this year, we move to Massachusetts. An MPP there also had to deal with a medical marijuana program and an activist group called Bay State Repeal that was working on a more liberal initiative. MPP once again set up a limited number of licenses and guaranteed them to the existing medical marijuana operators until October of 2018. Bay State Repeal was unable to raise the signatures and funds to get their measure on the ballot, but most of its supporters have come around to supporting MPP's initiative, now known as Question 4. In December, the leader of the group, Steve Epstein, told the Boston Globe that he would, quote, use every skill in my power, end quote, to oppose Question 4 because it reeks of, quote, crony capitalism, end quote. However, Epstein has recently been posting on the Bay State Repeal Facebook page with news and polling about Question 4. He doesn't seem to be actively campaigning against it. In comparison to the MPP-backed initiatives in the Southwest, Massachusetts looks like it's getting a pretty good deal. There will be no remaining possession felonies following the passage of Question 4. You can possess 10 ounces at home and the results of your home grow harvest of up to 12 plants per household. There can be marijuana lounges, and there will no longer be implied consent for DUID blood or urine samples. There can be no fewer than 1 pot shop for every 5 liquor licenses in a locality, unless a locality puts it to a public vote. Best of all, the pot taxes in Massachusetts will be set at a national low 3.75%. Finally, the state of Maine provides the example that the stoners against legalization everywhere should pay heed to, as it is the only state so far where grassroots activists have gone against MPP with a more liberal marijuana legalization and won. Paul McCarrier is an activist who is the head of Legalize Maine. But unlike many who call themselves an activist, McCarrier also had the experience necessary to formulate a winning campaign. He had been a legislative liaison and a registered lobbyist for medical marijuana caregivers in the state, who helped author successful bills to improve the medical marijuana program. As MPP continued their push to the ballot, McCarrier had paid signature gatherers collecting for his petition, sometimes leading to public confusion. Legalize Maine's signature gatherers would follow behind MPPs and ask, "Hey, do you want to sign a version of what you just signed that would also protect Maine farmers and businesses?" McCarrier's group was aiming at regulations that favored growers, such as having unlimited seedlings and having Maine's Department of Agriculture, Conservation, and Forestry control the market oversight. MPP believed that McCarrier's initiative was too liberal, granting possession of 2.5 ounces rather than just one, and figured that Maine's Bureau of Alcoholic Beverages and Lottery should regulate cannabis. By October of 2015, it became obvious to MPP that McCarrier's Legalize Maine group was not going away and had the ability to make the ballot. For the first time ever, MPP dropped its legalization campaign and got behind the grassroots, more liberal initiative. In addition to the 2.5 ounces, including concentrates, that Maine's Question 1 will legalize, home growers will be allowed 6 mature plants and 12 immature plants and unlimited seedlings. There will be adult marijuana lounges. Cannabis consumers are protected in employment, housing, and child custody. And commercial marijuana license fees are the cheapest in the country. In every marijuana election since 2010, there have always been stoners against legalization who urge you to vote against the initiative that made the ballot. In 2010, it was California's Prop 19, whose pot-smoking opponents claimed it was setting up a monopoly in Oakland and that better legalization would come along in 2012. It failed, and another legalization vote was delayed for 6 years. In 2012, it was Washington's I-502 opponents who wished they had a better legalization to vote for, like the Measure 80 that was on Oregon's ballot. The more conservative legalization passed in the Pacific Northwest with 55% of the vote, while the more liberal one failed with just 46%. In 2014, it was Oregon's Measure 80 proponents who didn't like the Measure 91 that made the ballot because it was too restrictive. The more conservative legalization passed with a record 56% of the vote, 10 points better than the last election, even though Measure 80 was during a presidential election with more liberal turnout and Measure 91 was during a midterm election with more conservative turnout. In 2015, it was Ohio's Issue 3 opponents who balked at the constitutional capture of the grow market for 10 wealthy investors in the initiative. Faint-hearted support and outright opposition from many marijuana reform groups helped lead Issue 3 to the greatest defeat of a marijuana initiative since the 1980s. The result was MPP retreating from legalization to a limited medical marijuana initiative, which they then dropped when the legislature passed their own even more limited medical marijuana law. And with that angle of support for legalization diminished, it may be another California-like 6 or more years before Ohio tries legalization again. So in 2016, as you consider your vote for legalization, remember that history shows failed legalization attempts don't always get a revote in the next election, and when they do, it is for something more conservative than what just failed. Oh boy, folks, I am running out of voice again. Telling you, I'm only running about 80% today. Got some more rest, got some more food in me. I'm feeling better than earlier this week by a mile. Whew. All right, we'll be right back after these messages.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Cannabis use isn't the only thing growing. So are we. Grow with us. CannabisRadio.com.
While the feds and state are doing their dance, you still need to transact business and manage your cash. Go professional and let your customers pay with PayQuick. They pay you and they earn rewards points. PayQuick connects to your bank account for free and secures all of your transactions. And with PayQuick, you can pay your producers and processors for free. Plus, it pays to have it because it makes depositing your cash safe and so easy. No cops, no crooks, just compliance and comfort, knowing you have your cannabis business in check with PayQuick. PayQuick, the safe and easy way to pay. PayQuick.com.
I'm Radical Russ from the Russ Belville Show.
Washington, it has passed. The news organizations are calling it.
Tell everybody in the red states how great legal weed is. Yeah, looking forward to legal weed here in the state of Oregon. It's the Russ Belville Show, the NPR of POT, weekdays live at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, exclusively on CannabisRadio.com.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
The Supreme Court is wrong on the Second Amendment.
Okay, maybe you're high too.
The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit mjba.net for more details.
Remember, friends, there's more to life than marijuana. I just can't remember what it is. Why'd I come in here? This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. 32 after the hour, and I was just thinking about that story in the Oregonian. It's talking about the hemp farmers here in the state. We got 77 of them that are licensed, and how they're finding that CBD oil is far more profitable for them than growing the hemp for food, fuel, or fiber. And this is just kind of ironic to me because for so long, the hemp people have tried to keep the marijuana people at a distance. For so long, they've in their public relations, they don't want to have anything to do with legalization votes, decrim votes, anything like that. They want to pretend hemp is a completely separate plant that has no tie whatsoever to marijuana and all the drug users out there. It's a completely separate, it's just industrial thing. For so long, that has been the rallying cry of the hempsters, right? Food, fuel, and fiber. So now that we get hemp grown, it's something like 1,600 acres that they got going in Oregon now. Now that we've got hemp growing, these hemp farmers are finding, well, wait a minute, there's a lot more money in that more marijuana side of hemp. And that's where that CBD oil is coming in, right? And this is where it gets weird, because with the CBD oil thing, is that when you're growing industrial hemp, for it to be hemp, it has to be less than 0.3% THC. So if you grow a high CBD hemp plant with less than 0.3% THC and you process that and you get the oil out of it, then you're getting that low THC CBD oil that is legalized in like 16 states now, mostly those southern states, for the kids to use as medicine. But then CBD is not necessarily looked at as a hemp product. And this is where it's getting kind of a legal gray area, because the way that the marijuana laws and the hemp laws are kind of different. And the way the hemp laws are written is that you can have the processed products of industrial hemp. You can have a hemp t-shirt, you can have hemp lotion. You think Dr. Bronner soaps, right? Hemp oil soaps and hemp oil and hemp seed. And so you can have all of these things so long as so long as it's still below 0.3% THC. But when those hemp laws were written, nobody was talking about CBD. Nobody was thinking about CBD. So they kind of left this like gray area, this loophole that's like, well, okay, so we grew these industrial hemp plants and we processed them into an oil like hemp seed oil, like what you get in the lotions or the soaps, just so happens to have a lot of this CBD in it. So shouldn't that be a hemp product that is then legal to ship across the United States, just like you can Dr. Bronner's soap? Well, that's what some people are trying to say. On the other hand, and there's always the on the other hand, the DEA doesn't look so kindly upon cannabidiol. It looks at it as a controlled substance. It's on the list. It's a drug. So this is interesting how this is beginning to develop. And I also find it, like I said, I find it ironic because for so long, the vision of the hempsters was once we got hemp legalized, we'd have these great fields of hemp for fiber and for all these other products. But if there's more money to be made into converting it into CBD oil, that's not necessarily the same kind of product that, hemp product that is going to allow you to, the processing and harvesting that's going to allow you to get the other uses out of it. So we have this economic kind of disruption of medical hemp affecting what could be the future of this industrial hemp. So that's interesting. I think really where the industrial hemp is going to take off is in that battery technology. I see that, there's a lot of people that talk about the hemp herds and the hempcrete and stuff. And I think there's some usage available for that. But man, the ability to get the storage power for batteries at 1/1000th the production cost, I think that's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So the hemp thing, I can't wait to see what happens with it. Michael in our chat room is one of these licensed growers, so I'm just trying to catch up on the chat room to see what's going on. And he says the medical people were slow to figure out the hemp CBD thing. True industrial hemp researchers have long recognized the presence of CBD in hemp. Yeah, and it's going to be interesting how we're going to have to rewrite our laws now with this new awareness of CBD. And there's other cannabinoids on deck, right? There's CBN and CBG and THCV and all these other ones that they're talking about too, that they may start trying to get out of hemp. It's just a fascinating development to me in this movement as we continue to try to end this stupid prohibition. And one thing I do like about the CBD oil thing and processing the hemp for a medical use is it brings us kind of back together as all being about the plant, right? And not separating us into these medical, religious, hemp, and recreational camps. I mean, we all have those. That's the way I kind of look at it as a four square of cannabis people: is the medical, the spiritual, the industrial, and the recreational. And I guess to me it's not a four square, because to me it's more of the medical, spiritual, and industrial are something that all exist within the larger scope of the recreational. That's where I think we've done ourselves a kind of a disservice in our movement, is in feeling like these are separate camps and recreational is one that's separate from these others, when really recreational is kind of a misnomer. It's not a separate use. It is the overall encapsulating use, right? Personal use. That's the phrase we're starting to use more now. Personal use, right? If I'm it goes back to when medical marijuana was first happening, right? And you'd have these opponents that would try to get you into this kind of pissing match, I guess, over all right, well, so you support medical marijuana. You only support medical marijuana because you really just want it legalized. You're just the camel's nose under the tent. This is just the Trojan horse. You just want to legalize. That's the only reason you're supporting medical marijuana. I always thought it was such a dumb argument, right? Because I have this encapsulated view. I have this overall view. Because my fight is the fight for anybody to use pot for whatever the hell reason they want to. So if I think that anyone 21 and older should be able to use pot, how could I then not support the right of someone who's sick to use pot? Those people, when they said, "Oh, you're a legalizer, that's the only reason you support medical marijuana," I'd say, "No, I'm a legalizer, and that's the reason I support medical marijuana." It's not because I'm using medical to get to legal. It's because I believe in all people's right to use it. So how could I not support some people's right to use it? I guess I could be one of those stoner against legalization types. By God, if not everybody can use it, then no one should use it. But no. Those of us on the so-called recreational side, we acceded to all of the medical marijuana needs. We took our place in the back of the bus. We voted for all of these medical marijuana laws. And some of us were the consumers that were supporting these places. So it gets frustrating again, so that when we have always been there to support every medical marijuana law there was, even when those laws wouldn't directly help us, knowing that in the future, that as medical marijuana laws rolled out across the country and more people became comfortable with the idea of a medical aspect to cannabis, it was our long-term investment, you might say. If you were voting on medical marijuana in Oregon in 1998 and you're just a toker, it was maybe like a long-term investment. Like, yeah, this doesn't help me right now, but by getting this passed in the future, eventually enough minds will change that we get legalization. And indeed, that's kind of what happened. So you can look at it as that investment. And so it gets frustrating when you've made that investment and the people that have benefited from your investment, the medical marijuana patients and providers, then ally to go against you finally claiming the result of your investment. It's like, wait a minute, we were there voting for all the medical stuff when you needed us. And believe me, you needed us because there's a lot more of us than you. Whole lot more recreational consumers than there are medical consumers. These things wouldn't pass without not just recreational consumer support, but with non-toker support too. So to have that then betrayal when it comes around to passing legalization, because some people got theirs and then don't want to lose out on anything for fear. And it's something Jack Harrow warned about. Chris Conrad has told me this numerous times, that he initially opposed Prop 215 in California because he worried about the possibility that once you legalized marijuana for a subset of people, they become an interest group that fights to protect its own. And sure enough, he was right. Indeed, medical marijuana for 20 years now has separated us into these interest groups. And I want to see legalization go on to bring us more together and to again make it like, oh, you need medical marijuana, then fine, have it. You don't have to go see a doctor. You don't have to get a recommendation. I eventually want to see the recreational world at a point like alcohol is. We don't have limits on how much alcohol we can buy. The only reason we have medical marijuana at this point in states like Oregon and Washington is because we have to give the patients greater limits than we give the recreational consumers. Why? Why do we have to restrict recreation? Well, because there's still prohibition around the rest of the country. You don't want too many of the people here flooding the market. Well, okay. But eventually, shouldn't we get to a point where we don't put limits on the recreational consumers? Then if you're medical and you need 12 pounds of pot to make your cannabis oil for your cancer, fine. You don't have to get any special card or pay any special fee or follow any special rules. That's eventually where this needs to go. It needs to go to the increasing of recreational consumers' rights to the point where medical marijuana is unnecessary. Give everyone the right to enough marijuana and the use of it in enough places and the protection from employment and housing and child custody and organ transplant and gun rights and all that discrimination. Give that to all the cannabis consumers and then the patients are taken care of. But continuing to try to eke out these separate worlds, these artificially separate worlds that maintain artificial limits on personal use compared to medical use, is untenable. We're going to see the end of it. I hope sooner rather than later. All right, we got to take a break. We come back, we'll close things up here with what I'm told is the last live Friday Stoner Jesus Night episode. Stoner Jesus is going to move live on Friday mornings. So I don't know how that affects. It's going to be Wake and Bake with Stoner Jesus on Fridays, I'm told. So I guess listen tonight and maybe he'll tell you more because I don't know all the details. We're back just in a couple minutes. Stick around.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
We don't limit how much you smoke, and we don't limit where you listen. Cannabis Radio is now on iTunes, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio.
Oh, let the marijuana llama tell you something now about a game for your phone gonna make you say, wow! The game's about the game of growing cannabis for cash. Grow the seed, sell the bud, put the savings in the stash. Little by little, your empire grows large. Put the big celebrities inside your entourage. You can choose to play with Snoop or me or Cheech and Chong, Cypress Hill, Willie Nelson, Wiz Khalifa with a bong. The name of the game is Hemp Inc., that's the point. Download and play while you light yourself a joint. The business of cannabis should be no crime. Hemp Inc. is even hot-proofed by the man who run High Times. Oh yeah? Get it on Android and iOS today. Marijuana llama out. Got to tend to me own crops, you know. Money don't make itself. Hemp Inc.
Hi, I'm Montel Williams. Most of you know me as a talk show host, but I'm also an author, actor, single father of 4, avid snowboarder, and I'm also a medical marijuana patient. Living with multiple sclerosis, I'm in pain every day. Medical marijuana is my last resort, and it helps me when all other drugs have failed. If you'd like more information about medical marijuana, you can contact the Marijuana Policy Project at mpp.org or call 1-877-JOIN-MPP.
Warning. Hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals, or at least they pay me to say that. A public service message from CannabisRadio.com and the Russ Belville Show.
Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
Remember, friends, there's more to life than marijuana. I just can't remember what it is. Why'd I come in here? This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. 49 after the hour, and during the break, I was checking up on my Skype messages. I got a Skype message from someone who says, the Russ Belville Show wants kids to go to jail for over an ounce of marijuana. It's another one of these no on Prop 64 people who get some meme on Facebook. They don't bother to read the actual legislation because, oh my God, it's 62 pages. Nobody could ever read 62 pages. And, oh, for God's sake, 62 whole pages of reading. I could never make it through it. Give me a break. It's like double spaced even. Jesus. But yeah, these are the people that never read the damn thing. And then they get something from their friend on Facebook who got it from their dispensary, who got it from their grower, who got it from somebody who's got a financial interest in making sure California remains prohibition. So let me just run it down for you, if you happen to be listening, on exactly where we're at now, and then what happens after we pass Prop 64 in California. Because the important part here, I think everybody could agree, is that we want things to be better and we don't want things to be worse. Can we agree on that? We want things to be better. We don't want things to be worse. Okay, so let's start with possession of less than an ounce, which the people that are the no on Prop 64 go, hey, we already have decrim. We already have decrim, man. Possession's only a ticket. Okay, so right now you're admitting possession of less than an ounce in California currently is a ticket. And that's $100. And not everybody has just $100 sitting on them, able to use it anytime they like. So could be problematic for some people, but a $100 ticket right now. After the Adult Use of Marijuana Act passes, after Prop 64 passes, possession of less than an ounce is legal. Oh, well, that actually sounds like it's better, doesn't it? Currently, if you possess less than 8 grams of concentrate, that is a penalty. That is a misdemeanor. Possibility of 1 year in jail, $500 fine, or both. After Prop 64 passes, possession of less than 8 grams of concentrate is legal. Well, gee, legal sounds better than a 1 year, $500 misdemeanor, doesn't it? Transporting less than an ounce. Remember, possession is the ticket, but transporting it, trying to give it to someone else, that's a $100 misdemeanor right now. But under Prop 64, that becomes legal. Legal sounds better, doesn't it? Give away less than an ounce or 8 grams. Sharing with other people after you transported it. $100 misdemeanor. After Prop 64, legal. Gee, just sounds better to me. Now, home growing one cannabis plant in the state of California right now is a felony, 16 months, 2 to 3 years in prison. Home growing less than 6 cannabis plants, 16 months, 2 to 3 year felony. Harvesting more than an ounce and keeping that off your harvest, felony, 16 months, 2 to 3 years. After Prop 64, those become, say it with me, people, legal. I don't know about you, but legal sounds better than felony to me. That's weird. All right, now we get to one here. Smoking where tobacco is banned. You're smoking pot where tobacco is banned. Right now, that's a $100 ticket. After Prop 64 passes, oh no, that becomes a $250 ticket. That is worse. Oh no, that is worse. Sure, we can possess an ounce of cannabis, less than 8 grams of concentrate, transport it, give it away, home grow less than 6 plants, and harvest more than the ounce from those 6 plants and keep it. That'll all be legal, but the public smoking ticket goes up $150. All right, we'll come back to that one. Public smoking or underage use. Now, this would be places where where tobacco is not banned. This is just open public smoking. Well, currently that's a $100 ticket. If you're underage and you're a minor and you're using, that's currently a $100 ticket. And after Prop 64 passes, that is still a $100 ticket. So that didn't get any worse. Now, what if you're less than 21, but you're over 18? Like if you're 18, 19, or 20, and if you're growing less than 6 plants, right now in California, that's a felony, 16 months, 2 to 3 years. After Prop 64, that becomes a $100 ticket. Again, this is under 21, but you're still an adult. 18 to 20 becomes a ticket for growing less than 6 plants. No jail, no criminal record. What if you're 18 to 20 and they catch you with less than 4 grams of concentrate? That's 1 year, $500 misdemeanor. After Prop 64, $100 ticket. If you're 18 to 20. Offenses by minors, age 18, less than 18. So the same penalties if you're a juvenile, everything from tickets all the way to felonies, everything we just discussed applies to kids under age 18, just the same as it does to adults. Misdemeanors, felonies. After Prop 64, somebody under age 18 gets counseling, community service, and drug education. No misdemeanors, no felonies. Now, currently, if you grow too many plants, let's say you're 18 and older and you grow more than 6 plants, currently that's a felony, 16 months to 2 to 3 years. After Prop 64, growing too many plants becomes a misdemeanor, 6 months, $500 fine. I don't know about you, misdemeanor sounds better than felony to me. If you possess too much cannabis, more than an ounce, currently 6 months, $500 fine, misdemeanor. After Prop 64, the same. Currently, if you possess more than 8 grams of concentrate, if you're over 21, or 4 grams of concentrate, if you're 18 to 20, currently 1 year, $500, misdemeanor. After Prop 64, 6 months, $500. So slightly better. If you transport or give away more than an ounce, currently a 2, 3, or 4 year felony, becomes 6 month, $500 fine, misdemeanor. Sounds better to me. Illegal sales of marijuana. You're not a pot shop and they catch you selling. Currently 2, 3, or 4 year felony drops down to 6 month, $500 fine, misdemeanor. Sounds better to me. Possession with intent to sell. Currently 16 month, 2 or 3 year felony drops to 6 month, $500 fine, misdemeanor. Sounds better to me. And then even these crimes that would be for third or aggravated type of counts, those go from being felonies to being what they call wobblers, where the prosecuting attorney can determine based on the circumstances whether or not that should rise to the level of misdemeanor or to a felony. Sales to minors still remains a 3 to 7 year felony. So that stays the same. So of all of these aspects of Prop 64, comparing now to after, the only thing that gets worse is the ticket for smoking where tobacco is banned. So after Prop 64 passes, please look for those little circle / signs with the cigarettes and don't smoke there. Other than that, everything gets better for you. Quit coming at me in these chat rooms and these message machines with these stupid, easily debunked scares about Prop 64. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us here, and thanks for your patience this week as I overcame some illness. We'll be better next week, starting on Tuesday, because Monday is Labor Day. For everyone here at CannabisRadio.com, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down.